It's night and day.
Dissidia Final Fantasy.
Night and day back again.
Yes, we are back in the world of Dissidia Final Fantasy.
Yes, we're back to go over the Snow update. The newest DLC character has been added to the game. We're gonna jump in, talk about him, talk about his skins, talk about how it's a little bit weird and controversial that they added him, talk about his character history, and show all the gameplay of what it looks like to punch people in the face with him.
Yeah, so this is going to be a rather in-depth episode.
If you're from the South and you've never seen Snow, well, you're gonna see him now!
This is what falls in the north, like just tons and tons of bodies of snow. That would be gross and disgusting.
They would have to, the snowplows would be like giant machines that clean up blood. And
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. It's just blood and gore falling from the skies. Oh man.
All right. Well, here is Snow.
Snow.
They have Snow Villiers.
Villiers? Is that?
Villiers.
Villiers. Okay.
Yes. I think it's a French name.
Villiers. I can see that.
They have used his design from the third one in the Final Fantasy 13 series, Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13. They've done it for a kind of specific reason. We're going to get into that in a minute. But you'll notice Snow has an unusual weapon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, they didn't show this in the cutscenes at all, which is kind of strange, because this is kind of the reason why he's in the game right now at all. So, this weapon isn't actually a weapon. It's an extension of his arm.
Oh, so he has a terrible deformity.
Yeah, actually. Okay. You played Final Fantasy 13 a little bit. Didn't play through the whole game or anything. But in Final Fantasy 13, you learn about how the fal'Cie, which are godlike creatures of immense power, can give you a brand, and they give you this mark, a human. They can give a human a mark, and then that human becomes what's called a l'Cie.
Okay, right.
And this mark it enables them to use magic. It's a creative way to allow the main characters, the player characters, to use magic and be more powerful than other humans.
Right.
So along with using magic, they gain extra power and they're really strong. But this comes with a price.
Right.
The brand that they have, it's kind of like a time bomb. It constantly grows. It looks kind of like an eye with a lot of arrows sticking out of it, and it keeps getting larger and larger, and then eventually the eye opens, and the l'Cie that was created by the fal'Cie is given a mission. It's called a focus.
Okay,
if the l'Cie completes the mission in time, then the l'Cie is granted a reprieve and turned into crystalline form. Okay. Basically put into crystal stasis and can awaken at a later point.
Okay.
Right. If the l'Cie does not finish his or her mission in time, then they'll turn to a giant monster, like a kind of a mutating abomination,
right?
Like weird growth and kind of jagged, kind of husky. Like it's called a Seath.
Okay.
Right. And so that's what this growth is on Snow's arm.
So it's basically just imagine his arm, but covering the rest of his entire body, and that's what happens when you don't complete your focus.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
So we'll take a look at his skins, and then we'll dive into
some gameplay.
Some gameplay, yeah, and we'll go over to why it's kind of controversial that Snow is the one that they chose for this game. So
that's
here,
pretty cool.
Yeah, they change up the coat, jacket, whatever this thing is.
Yeah, it seems like a coat or sport coat or of some kind or something like that. I'm not sure what you would technically call that, but I like the color. Like breaking that up instead of the all black kind of look to it.
Yeah, I do like this color scheme variation of it.
Right. Yeah, I think the all black is definitely like really badass, and it goes very well with the story. Like him having that arm and everything like that. But I think this is just a cool variation on it.
Yeah. I like the look here. Personal preference, I like the all black. I am an all black kind of guy, I guess. Looks badass.
Yeah.
Intimidating. Yeah. And I definitely like the design that they have for him in in Lightning Returns. I like it more in that game than in either of the other two games. We'll go over Snow as he kind of evolved throughout the series, Final Fantasy 13 series, a little bit later.
Right.
And here's his third one.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, I guess they gave him like a weird Gigolo version.
It seems very leopard printy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a red leopard print variation of the jacket.
Yeah. I don't know that I like that much.
Yeah.
It seems like he's a pimp or something.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the Hugh Hefner style.
Yeah.
Where's my sailor cap?
It seems like, it's like a velvet almost kind of material, the way it shines and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that I'm a huge fan of this one.
Yeah, I definitely not feeling the red leopard print. But, I mean, at least it's different.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely, if you want to kind of get away from average, then this is definitely your go-to, for sure.
And it's better than just doing another slight color variation. Like, if it was just this again, but red.
But red instead,
Yeah, it wouldn't have been as
that would be
good,
kind of like cheap, I guess.
Right,
Yeah.
at least one of them's original.
Yeah, for sure.
For
sure.
So yeah, let's check out his weapons real quick.
Indeed.
Quick like a bunny.
Little hop hop. What is... Oh, that looks awesome.
So yeah, this is another variation of some of the Seath that you see in the games. They go through gradual, like depending on how long they've been a Seath, they'll have larger degrees of the deformities.
Okay.
And some of the Seath from Grand Pulse look like this, where they have this like kind of jagged rock or metal kind of look to them.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. It looks really cool. Looks interesting, for sure. And I like the circle on it, like the mark is different.
Well, a Pulse Lassie has a different brand than a Cocoon Lassie.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if that's what they were 100% going for in this instance or not. But yeah, there's... Because I don't see a brand there at all. So here it's kind of like the Lassie brand, the eye opened fully. And that's why he's becoming like fully Seath in corruption. Yeah. All right, let's check out the last one here.
Sacrificial guard. Wow.
So yeah,
that one looks cool because you can see it kind of creeping up his arm a little bit.
Oh yeah. It does look like that with the other ones as well. But you can't see it from this camera angle.
Right.
But if you see him in the normal game, you'll see it growing up his arm.
Okay.
And when Snow takes damage in battle, like he'll lose his jacket and like the growth will actually...
It'll be prominent, like you can see it more obviously.
It'll creep up his entire left side of his torso.
Interesting, yeah, that's really cool.
So, as I point to my right side, but yes, his left side of his torso. But yeah, so all of them have that. It's just this one has the kind of partition, the hole in the...
Oh, just to kind of show that off.
In the claw, where it's easier to see from this angle.
Right.
So yeah, this is another variation of what some of the Seath look like in that game. This is a Cocoon Seath look, like a more evolved version of them, and the other one was a Pulse Seath look. But anyway, it's another variation of that.
Right.
Like another example of a Seath that's like continuing to deform.
Right. Makes sense, for sure. At least, they all kind of pertain to something in the game.
Yeah.
So there's different stages of it.
We didn't get the other skin for him, but the other skin is Snow's look from the first Final Fantasy 13 game. So it's got the long brown or beige trench coat with the boots and the black bandana on, that sort of thing. But he still has this weird Seath growth. Which is kind of strange because that wasn't a thing. The Seath growth wasn't a thing. They had the brand in 13, but this specific growth that comes up his arm that he actually uses as a weapon in this game wasn't. This was specifically taken from Lightning Returns and what happens to Snow in that game.
Right. Okay.
All right. So now we can get into a little bit of history of Snow, and we'll go into some gameplay.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds fun.
We mentioned Snow's inclusion being a little bit controversial. So they had Camel Nuts, who was controversial as an inclusion. We went over why. Then they go to Yuna, where everybody's like, yay! There's pretty much agreement. Hey, okay. Everybody wanted Yuna back in the game.
Right.
And now, do they go to another fan favorite? No, they go right back into another controversial situation here by going to Snow. So Snow's controversial for a couple of reasons. The first being he wasn't all that well received in the West. So in Final Fantasy 13, they kind of really shove it down your throat where Snow is, I wouldn't necessarily say arrogant, but he's brazen in the concept of he wants to be a hero, he wants to save everyone, but he says it every 15 minutes. So it's just constantly Snow and the members of Nora, which are that's the name of his organization. Like they're not actually authorized by the authorities, but they're a group of peacekeepers that go around saving people from monsters. So they call themselves Nora, and they're always like, oh, we're heroes, don't worry guys, your heroes are here, and they constantly do that, so they kind of overkill it.
Heroes don't run from fights. These people need heroes. Don't worry, Sarah. Your hero is on his way.
Since when have heroes ever needed plans?
And that left kind of a
bad taste in people's mouths.
A bad taste in the mouth of the Western audience. I don't know if they did the same thing with the translation in the Japanese version where he constantly talks about being a hero or not. But he was much better received by the Japanese audience. He's always the top male Final Fantasy 13 character in the polls over there and stuff like that. So he's better received in Japan. So it's more controversial here than there in terms of the character's popularity. But the other version that's more universally like, what? He was chosen as the villain representative for Final Fantasy 13.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
That's why they got the incarnation that they have from Lightning Returns, because in that game, Snow serves as the patron of... He's basically the overriding authority and protector of a city called Yusan. This is a point that's centuries in the future. Final Fantasy 13-2 introduced this weird concept where at the end of it, time froze for humanity, people no longer aged, and the world started to decay as chaos kind of flooded into the world and started destroying it, gradually eroding away at all of the world. And then at the end of 13.2, chaos still continues to spread. And then you kind of jump forward in 13.3, Lightning Returns, where it's been centuries later. Lightning herself has come back as a savior to try and save everyone, but she was put in crystal stasis, so she hasn't been around. Snow has been around the entire time. And he has this darker look because it kind of reflects his attitude, where in Final Fantasy 13, he was always the voice of hope, and which is ironic because there's a character named Hope. Anything but Snow is the voice of hope, and he always wants to try, no matter what, to make sure that he could save Sarah. That's his constant motivation. Save Sarah, save Cocoon, save the people. Do whatever it takes. Never give up. Whereas 13.3 has kind of eroded all of that away from him because he's been living in this basically dying, doomed existence for centuries. So that's where the new look comes from, where he looks more mature, but also kind of darker.
Interesting.
A nice grave.
He's still trying to protect people. Like, he's single-handedly trying to absorb the chaos that's kind of seeping into his city. So he's still serving as the protector of these people. He'll still fight monsters. But he knows that the world is doomed, and he's kind of accepting that fate.
He's just choosing to have this kind of like never-ending fight to stop chaos. To save his city.
He sees it as sort of a penance because he failed at saving Sarah. So he basically thinks, I deserve this. That sort of thing.
That's his darker kind of side, I guess.
So the weird part, though, is this whole Seath thing, his whole Seath weapon. Like, first of all, it's weird for him to be a villain. Yes, he's sort of an antagonist in Final Fantasy 13.3, Lightning Returns. He has an antagonistic relationship with Lightning. In the very opening cinematic, they kind of have a fight, and then they go off their separate ways. But when you come back and see him later,
You're looking for a way
it's
out, a
very
death that's no
quickly
different than suicide.
understood that all he's been trying to do
How
the
can you
whole time
face
is
Sarah
save
after
people.
that?
Like what he's always been trying to do.
Yeah, right.
He's kind of, you know, torturing himself in the way that he's going about doing
Right,
things.
right.
But at no point is he really a villain. He's never trying to kill people or anything. And so what happens is there's this chaos, there's this giant influx of chaos, which is the material that's destroying the world. And he tries to, as soon as lightning arrives in his city, and he realizes it's the real lightning, it's no joke, no
Right,
con or anything
right.
like that. He tries to absorb all the chaos into himself and destroy this one chaos flood.
Right.
But he knows if he does that, he will no longer be able to control his Seath transformation.
Okay,
'Cause
right.
One of the concepts of being a Lassie is intense moments of stress will speed up your transformation.
Okay.
It'll kind of jump your brand,
Okay.
jumpstart it a couple of
Right,
levels
right.
if you're ever in intense, stressful situations.
Okay.
So in any case, he absorbs the whole thing.
Okay.
Lightning's like, no, don't do it. And he's like, oh no, okay, I'm gonna do it. and
Okay, fine.
but you have to do
know.
this. You have to destroy my Seath. So basically, he's saying, kill me.
Right.
Once I
right.
lose control.
After I do this, yeah, just
Right.
kill me. Yeah.
So he does it anyway, and then his growth thing happens on just his arm. And then you have the boss fight with him, and you're Lightning, and you
Okay.
win. And then
Okay.
you kind of find a way to get him to unseath,
Okay.
which is unprecedented and basically plot armor total bullshit. But that's what happens. So the weird part is they're basing this entire gameplay element of Snow being villainous and having this Seath powers
Right.
and his Seath arm and all this stuff on a part of the story that lasts like 10 minutes. Like, it probably lasts 2 minutes for people who are really, really good at the fight.
Right,
But I
yeah.
mean, cutscenes and everything included, it's like, it's a very short part of Snow's existence. And they're like, well, let's use him as the villain.
Right.
It just doesn't work.
So they don't kind of create a different antagonist to at least kind of like bulk a couple people together as just creating a problem for Lightning or anything like that. It's just Snow is the person to fight against as the main antagonist of this story.
I don't know. That's why it's controversial.
Yeah, that's-
He doesn't work well as a
Right,
villain rep.
as an antagonist there. That doesn't make sense.
He was always trying to save people. He was just being altruistic and self-sacrificing about it.
Right.
He was a Seath for 10 minutes, and they're taking that one brief snapshot and saying, "Okay, no, this is it.
Right.
100%, this is it. This is good enough to be a villain rep." And I don't buy it. It's like that's why it's controversial. A lot of people don't buy it.
Right, yeah, for sure. That
Hence the controversy.
I could definitely see how you would not buy that, because it's like, yeah, you don't want a villain for 10 minutes. You want like a master, like a scheming, gonna end the world type villain.
Right.
Except this guy, he becomes a villain because, I mean, he's just trying to be the best person he can be, and he becomes a villain for 10 minutes, and then he's not a villain anymore.
Right.
It's like, okay,
That's
so
it.
what are we fighting for in this game?
And then after that, they're on good terms again.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, that's why it doesn't really work. A lot of people don't really approve of this guy being added, or some people are like, okay, wouldn't have minded Snow being added to the game, but normal Snow as
Right.
his normal self. There's tons of material to work with throughout the 3 games
Right.
for attacks and moves and stuff. Let him be the next hero rep for 13. Okay,
Right, right.
but the villain, yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's so forced to try and get him in there.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, the potential for this mastermind villain, that's where you come into a little bit of trouble for Final Fantasy 13.
Okay.
Because in 13.1 you have Bartandalus, who's mainly pulling the strings, running the show, and you couldn't really have him in there. He's only kind of like end bossy, monstrous gargantuan.
Okay.
So they could have him as like a smaller looking Shinryu walking around,
Right.
but not as a actual player character.
Right, right. Okay, yeah,
And
that makes
then-
sense.
Then you have, at the end of Final Fantasy 13, you've got Bunavelza, who's basically a god. Like, You know how the Fal'Cie are super powerful beings that have superpowers and they can brand humans and do all this?
Right.
Well, they're very powerful, but this guy created them and can do what, like, yeah, he's a level above them.
Right, yeah. Yeah, he's just operating on a whole new universe, basically.
Yeah, he is, like, a godlike entity in it's called, like, the Fabula Nova Crystallis history or mythology. He is one of the original god creatures.
Okay. Yeah, that seems a bit intensive.
He would be very large. He would be like an actual Shinryu size kind of thing, not a miniature one like Bartandalus might be, but he would be like the size of, you know, an eighth of the stage. So yeah, you can't have him as the rep.
Right. Yeah, he can't just show up constantly and it not be like world ending.
Right. So some of the villains you can't use.
Right.
But does that mean all of the villains throughout 13 you can't use? No. There's still, you could have used either Sid Raines or Caius. Sid Raines is a character from 13. He wasn't the overarching villain, but he was somebody that you found out was manipulating you for a long time. He's not always villainous either. He also tries to do what's right at certain points in the storyline. So it's still not somebody who's just like evil like the Emperor or, you know, one of those other guys.
Right. It's not a black and white kind of fight to be had.
Right. But he's much more antagonistic for much longer than Snow is.
Yeah, at any point, having Snow be the main antagonist I feel like that's a kind of a cheap kind of getaway with that. It'd be cooler if they had Snow good in the beginning, and then he started taking his turn, like as he absorbed more chaos, like getting corrupted, and started making his way towards just being this major villain. But when Lightning somehow finds a way to get him back to his normal form, then he gets back to like being allies and whatnot on good terms.
Yeah, they didn't do it that way at all. There was no giant character arc build up. They never intended for Snow to be this overarching villain.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't fit. And then in Final Fantasy 13 2, you've got Caius, who actually is another villain who he's still, this is where they're running into some trouble, he's still trying to do what he thinks is right. But he is antagonistic, and he is the overarching villain throughout the entire storyline. Because of his actions, chaos seeps into the world and all of this sort of thing. It's not entirely due to him, but...
So he's not purposely letting chaos...
No, he is.
Oh, okay.
He's doing it for righteous reasons or for a cause that he believes is just. And he does directly fight the party several times.
Right, okay.
I mean, in that game, the party is basically Sarah and Noel and a bunch of monsters, so it's not that much of a party, but...
Right.
But even though he's still trying to fight for a righteous cause, he is definitely antagonistic throughout the entire time, always at odds with the party, and he plays the primary villain role in that game. And he's also humanoid. Sid Raines is a Lassie, and he mutates, so he could have been like kind of how they use Snow. He goes from full humanoid to much more Seath-looking than Snow gets in this game. But he's humanoid. So either of them could have fit the villain role, and they were actually villainous. Even if they all have noble goals at certain points in the storyline, it's still more than the 10 minutes where Snow is actually a mindless Seath where he's trying to attack. So it's just, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I mean, I think he's a cool character, and I like the look from Lightning Returns, so it's a cool look. But I just don't want him in as the villain rep.
You could, maybe throw him, like, give him a skin or something like that if you want him to have that villain look. Like, and have him just look like he would in regular 13, not 13.3. And that would, I mean, if they really wanted to have him, like, in this form, then sure, they could have got away with it, but...
Well, they did. They got away with it.
Well, yeah, they got away with it in, like, the worst way possible.
The meddling kids couldn't stop them.
Yeah. Oh my god.
You are hopeless before my powers.
They'll know what I'm made of soon enough.
When they cut me open, my blood's all over the floor. See some entrails, some organs.
That's mostly what I'm made of, but...
I see some organ damage, and then Yusuke will come around and do organ murder, so there'll be no organs left. Alright, so anyway, let's get into some Snow gameplay here. So Snow's got, from the ground, he's got forward and X. Forward and X does the attack, I think. Yeah, it launches the snow,
Right.
it launches the ice projectile, it's ranged. And then neutral X just does a combo.
Yeah, that's
where
just
if you hit with it, it does a 3-hit.
Okay.
And if you hit with the ice projectile, you can chain that at least twice, I think. And then back in attack from the ground does this jumping thing. Yeah, and that's also a 2-hit combo that looks pretty cool. Where if you hit with it, you punch him up and then slam him down.
Ah, okay.
It's close range only to start if you want to get... Yeah, that's
There we
it.
go.
It looks pretty
Yeah.
sweet. So, yeah, those are his ground ones. And then from the air, if you do forward and X, it does a diving attack down at them.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if that hits, again, you can combo it for a second hit. Oh, lightning. Or your ace. Oh. There it
we
is. There's the second
There
hit.
we go.
Yeah, he follows up with that kick.
Yeah.
Boot.
Literally kicked his butt.
The big boot. And neutral X is another, just a combo string. I think you can change. Yeah, you can. Oh, you can get interrupted.
I can do that.
You can summon Shiva.
Nice. There we go. Oh wow, that's all you do. You don't even have to get any crystals. You just...
Oh,
There we
that
go.
was so funny. The last hit after the summon animation. Shiva, come get him.
Yeah.
Except this guy.
He's all yours.
That just was such a meaty hit too.
This guy's mine.
And then back in X from the air does this diving attack. Yeah,
Right.
where you
Yeah.
slam down on him.
Right.
Another one that looks cool, but you have to do it at close range. Boom! Yeah, it looks so cool. And he does this ice kind of thing that shatters around him when
all over
he
him.
hits.
Right.
And then from the dash, from either ground or air, he throws another ice projectile. Yeah, so you can do it from farther. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
There we are.
So those are basically all of Snow's moves in terms of gameplay. His EX skill is a chaos attack, where if you hold down the triangle, I think it charges for a little bit longer. Yeah, and it shoots a blast of chaos at the enemy.
Very cool.
One other thing about Snow in terms of gameplay is after he takes enough damage, he actually gets into a more deformed form, like the Seath kind of takes over his body more, and it covers, like we talked about earlier, it covers more of his torso, and then his chaos move does more damage and it goes farther, I think. So we'll show that if we get a chance.
Ah, interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah, so that pretty much covers all of the gameplay. It's not a ton, but you get what you expect with Snow. You get snow attacks, ice attacks, and a bunch of brawler hits.
Right, yeah,
Since
makes sense.
he's a monk in the game, and if you try to shove him into a classic Final Fantasy role, he's a monk, which means he does bare-handed attacks.
Right, right. Makes sense. Yeah.
Fights with his fists.
He's very fisticuffs kind of guy.
That's the kind of cuffs he likes.
Oh, I thought that said bacon. I was like, what?
Oh! Wall slam for
Nice.
the victory.
Just before I was about to get demolished.
Oh, and there.
Oh, sweet.
You went into the extra deformed mode.
There's no way I could have lost.
Oh, that's awesome. You can see his eyes changing color
Yeah.
and everything like that. That looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that attention to detail there. This game looks really awesome.
Alright, so now we can cover Snow's history, basically.
Right.
How
right.
he developed through the 3 games, how he got to be this ugly monstrosity. So in the first Final Fantasy 13, Snow is, like we said, he's a freedom fighter, and all hell breaks loose at the very, very, very beginning of that game. Your characters haven't met up yet. Lightning,
Okay, right.
Snow's kind of trying to save anybody that he can.
Okay,
The
yeah.
Purge is why all hell is broken loose. What happened is a fal'C has been found on Cocoon that's a pulse fal'C. And those aren't usually there, so Cocoon is this floating orb in the sky. Yeah, we're going to go into spoilers for Final
Right,
Fantasy
yeah,
13
yeah.
and 13-2 and Lightning Returns, by the way. So Cocoon is this floating sphere in the sky that was constructed by fal'C for humans to thrive in, basically. And there's been this war between Pulse, which is the land below, and Cocoon, which is this giant floating sphere, for, centuries.
Right.
It's this long-standing war. A fal'Cie has been found within Cocoon. It's a Pulse fal'Cie. Both locations have fal'Cies, so there's Pulse fal'Cie and Cocoon fal'Cie.
Okay.
They don't like each other very much.
Okay.
So-
That sounds about usual gameplay stuff.
So yeah, they've found a Pulse fal'Cie, and because anything from Pulse is deemed extremely dangerous, the fal'Cie and any human that's been in the vicinity are all being sent back down to Pulse, so that for the safety of the people of Cocoon.
Okay, right.
So it's called the Purge. But what the authorities of Cocoon don't tell everybody is, yeah, we're not actually going to take you down to Pulse and kind of let you live your own life, which is already harsh enough.
Right.
We're just going to outright kill you.
Oh.
So this whole thing is just, instead of a mass exodus, it's a slaughter.
Right, right.
So Snow is there because he wants to save people, as many
right.
as he can.
Makes
Lightning is there because Sarah, her sister, got branded by the fal'Cie, so
okay.
she became a l'Cie. So she's like, oh, F anything, I'm going to try and save my sister anyway.
Right.
So even
right.
though they teach you that, Pulse fal'Cie and Pulse l'Cie are super dangerous evil demon things to be feared and run away,
Right.
Lightning's like, no, she's my sister, I'm going to save her. So they go and they find Sarah on board this Pulse kind of relic that's been found, and that's where the Pulse fal'Cie was found inside of this relic.
Okay.
And so this thing is being hauled out of Cocoon for the purpose. And so Snow also wants to save Sarah. So after he's saved some people, he tries to board this thing, and he succeeds. And Lightning boards it as well. And they meet up as well as the other party members. They meet up there with Hope and Saz and Vanille, and they find Sarah, who is, as we mentioned earlier, that's Snow's fiance.
Okay, right. Yeah.
So Snow, to go into a little bit more of his character, we'll just take a step back real quick. Snow was dating Sarah, but then Sarah was one of the people who found this Pulse fal'Cie on Cocoon.
Okay.
And this thing's response was to brand her and to turn her into a l'Cie so that it could have her, work for it.
Right, right.
The weird thing about the foci, they're not clear. So sometimes you get given a mission and you get this vision and you have to try and accomplish it, but you don't necessarily get this working 20-page
This map,
instruction.
Right,
yeah.
right. You just kind of have to hope what you're doing is right.
Right.
in that
And if
sense.
it's not, you turn into a hideous abomination zombie-esque kind of creature.
Right, right.
So yeah, it's not the ideal scenario.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
upon this happening to Sarah, Sarah's pretty distraught, and she tells Snow. But Snow's like, "Don't worry, I'm going to stick with you no matter what. Absolutely, no matter what."
Right.
And then even after knowing that, he proposes to her.
Wow.
That's how devoted he is.
He's a real ride or die, for sure.
Yeah. So even though she has this death sentence brand,
Yeah,
thing,
like she
he's
will
still
inevitably become this zombie that might kill him or
or
something like that.
successfully
Or-
becomes crystalline
Right.
into stasis.
Yeah.
So he's still like, no, we're gonna do whatever it takes, and I'm gonna help you no matter what.
Right.
So that's how he is. That's where it's not necessarily arrogance,
No matter what happens.
but it comes across as with the hero language. It comes across as kind of over the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in terms of the attitude and the person behind it, it's just extremely
Marry me.
devoted.
Yeah.
Or to trying to do the right thing, even to like a reckless extent.
Yeah, like no matter how much it will destroy you, you still want to do the right thing.
Right. No matter the danger, no matter the cost, gonna try to do the right thing at all times.
Right.
That
right.
kind of person. Except it's not like where we've talked about other altruistic characters before, like Captain America or things like that. With Snow, it's much more reckless. It's like making the promise and the commitment before figuring out the plan as to how we can pull it off.
Right.
Sort of thing. Before seeing if it's even possible or feasible. Like
I guess he's very.
his belief is he's gonna make it happen.
Yeah. He's very idealistic. Like.
Yeah, idealistic is a great
He'll
word.
like make it worth. Yeah, no matter what happens,
Right.
he thinks he can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Against all odds, doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
So yeah, idealistic is definitely the word. So as they find Sarah on this, it's called a vestige, I think, the relic.
Okay, right.
They find Sarah, but Sarah crystallizes then. Her focus has been completed. They don't know exactly how or why,
right.
But she crystallizes right as the group of 5 find her.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then Lightning is pissed off.
Yeah, I can imagine why.
So she storms in and finds the fal'Cie, and Snow goes with her, and they actually attack the fal'Cie. The others go with them, kind of in a state of disbelief. Like, some of them are like, are we really doing this? I think Saz says that. And they go after the fal'Cie itself. They attack it, and then it brands them. Like, that wasn't necessarily the smartest thing to do. So yeah, the fal'Cie just brands them, and it turns all of the party into l'Cie, and that's how you become. That's how you learn to use magic in that game, and that's how you become basically powered characters who are stronger than
normal
humans.
Yeah,
yeah. So that sets up the storyline for that game, and then throughout the entire game, your characters are trying to figure out whether or not they should do their focus, figuring out what their focus is as their brands grow, when they get into more tense situations, because now the people of Cocoon all hate you.
Oh, right.
You weren't branded by a Cocoon fal'Cie, you were branded by the Pulse fal'Cie.
Right.
So yeah, you have to deal with trying to stay alive as you're constantly attacked by the authorities and the armed forces, the military of Cocoon, and the stress of knowing that you're on a ticking clock. While they didn't really understand their focus, they're trying to guess it and figure it out as they go.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Then they find out as they go they're being manipulated by fal'Cie, that Bartendals that I mentioned earlier.
Right.
And they've been sucked into this whole thing that's obviously way more than any of them were
worth expecting it to be.
Right, set out for.
Right.
And Snow, mainly in that game, his entire modus operandi is still like, we gotta do whatever it takes to help save Sarah.
Right.
She's Crystal, doesn't matter, I'm still gonna save Sarah.
Right.
We're gonna save Cocoon, we're gonna save everyone, we're gonna save Sarah, we're gonna save everyone.
Right, yeah.
So
I'll put a stop to this, or we'll put a stop to this.
Yeah.
We'll find a way, yeah.
There's a point or two where he gets depressed over once he's learned that he's been manipulated by the greater power of Bartendals and the fal'Cie pulling some strings that he wasn't aware of.
Right.
But overall, he keeps coming back to the, no, we're going to save Sarah. He's super dedicated. I mean, come what may, regardless of anything, that's still
his number one goal.
He sticks by it, yeah. And eventually, Lightning gains some respect for that. He does have this separate conflict with Hope, where Hope is the young kid on the team. He's like a young teens kind of age. And at the very beginning, Hope's mother is one of the people who tries to help Snow and his team, Nora, defend people. Like, they're taking volunteers while the authorities are basically slaughtering people and gunning them down as this exodus, but it's really just the purge of murder.
Right. Yeah.
So Hope's mother is one of the people who volunteers, but she gets killed in the
process.
Yeah, it's basically a war zone. The beginning of Final Fantasy 13 is like armed forces shooting machine guns and summoning monsters and coming in and wiping out people any which way they can.
Right. Yeah.
And people trying to survive. And there's explosions and your platforms are falling, and Hope's mother dies, and then Hope holds this over Snow throughout the entire game. Or not the entire game, but through probably half of the game, he's upset with Snow. He blames Snow specifically for it.
The death of his mom.
Right, because Snow was the one who asked for volunteers, and even though Hope's mom, volunteered of her own free will, Hope holds it against Snow. So he goes on his plan where he's going to take revenge and actually kill Snow. He actually shoots fireball at Snow and knocks him off of a building.
Oh, wow.
And they reconcile a little bit later when, despite that, Snow still saves his life.
Oh, okay.
And then he realizes, I was just kind of using him as a scapegoat, and
he's not actually mad at
it's not really your fault. It's not really anybody's fault.
Right.
So they do come to reconcile. So it works out pretty well. Those are the two main things that that Snow goes through in that game. It's mainly the Sarah relationship, where trying to win Lightning's approval is a kind of a side to that.
Okay.
A smaller part of that, but it's mainly his Sarah relationship, and then his side story with trying to work things out with Hope.
Right.
Because at first, Snow has no clue that Hope hates him.
Right. Yeah.
Because he didn't know that the woman who died was Hope's mother.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. That's his main character progression through Final Fantasy 13.
Okay.
At the end of that game, there is a point where their brands evolve to like Seath form.
Okay.
Not all the party, but several of the party members have evolved fully into Seath form.
Okay.
So yeah, they actually become Seath, but it's very briefly. They're magically turned back,
Okay.
and they don't really even go into that as to how or why in Final Fantasy
unfortunate.
13 itself. So they do make an explanation for it in Final Fantasy 13 too, but
Okay.
some of the plot threads in 13-2 don't connect well with Final Fantasy 13, so I'm not sure if it was actually fully decided as what happened,
Right.
or if they were kind of making things up as they went along at that
right.
point.
Yeah.
Regardless, though, they come back and everybody has a happy ending, and they save Cocoon, and Lightning and Snow are happy, and Sarah is uncrystallized
Ah. Okay.
and ends up able to be back together with Snow again. So those two are happy, and they have Lightning's blessing, and
Right.
woohoo,
Yeah.
awesome,
The
happy
world
ending.
is great again. Yeah.
Right. Then Final Fantasy 13-2 happens. The very beginning, they literally take the ending of Final Fantasy 13 and say, nope, that didn't happen. Instead of Lightning being happy and everybody being happy and reconciling, weird black chaos came in and absorbed Lightning, and she vanished. So they redo the entire ending of 13. Like
Okay.
they do the start of it,
Right.
but then this weird black chaos comes and eats
Right.
Lightning.
Right.
They're doing an alternate timeline. Like, time travel is a big
okay.
part of Final Fantasy 13 too.
Okay.
Which doesn't make any sense. Like, it was never brought up in 13 at all. It just
Right.
seems like a total ass pull in terms of the story and the writing. Like, where did this come from? Suddenly time travel. It
Yeah.
seemed like Final Fantasy 13 2 would have been pretty damn good as Final Fantasy 8 2. Because in Squall's game, there was time travel. Time travel is a big part of that game.
Oh, okay.
And it's
Yeah.
mentioned, throughout.
Right,
And
yeah.
part of Final Fantasy 13-2 is the concept is, we have to, make amends for what we did and how we screwed up the timeline. Where it's like, you didn't really screw up the timeline. That would have made perfect sense as Final Fantasy 8-2.
It was
Like,
Right.
the timeline's been totally screwed with. Now we have to go
back and
fix it
fix it,
because
right.
certain things are unraveling.
Right.
That would have been perfect. Okay, great. Maybe it was even Final
Right.
Fantasy 8-2. I've never read anything to that effect, but maybe it was, on hold as a possible Final Fantasy 8 sequel in
Right.
Square for years. Who
Right.
knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it made sense following that. It didn't make sense. Oh no, Lightning, we were never happy. No, you got to. And Sarah, Lightning's sister, remembers the real version, but no one else really remembers
What?
it. So
Okay.
she's like trying to explain it to people and trying to not sound like a crazy person.
Right. Right.
But anyway, Lightning gets absorbed into this unseen realm. They call it
But
Valhalla.
I couldn't relax.
It is sort of the realm of the dead. So that's why they're calling it that. And then she's locked in this eternal struggle with Caius, where suddenly she is the chosen of Etro. Etro is the name of one of the god level creatures.
Okay. Okay.
Regardless,
Watch out!
the ending never really happened. They made an alternate timeline where Lightning was sucked into this chaos, given extreme god level powers, like
Tore open a portal to
like
another
well
world.
beyond your party, well
Right.
beyond anything. Like she's fighting, summoning all, fighting meteors,
And there was a
summoning
Oh my
all
God.
this super powerful magic, and like fighting at this god scale level against Caius,
Right.
who's constantly trying to take out the unseen realm. And you go on this mission with Sarah and then somebody else from the far future, like the end of the world, basically, when humanity's been taken out named Noel, and they try to set things right and restore the original timeline, remove any paradoxes that they
Okay,
come across.
right,
It's
right.
very time oriented,
Yeah. It seems. Yeah. For sure.
but it's not very well done time oriented. It's hard to do a time travel story well, and they didn't.
Right. And that just further proves that.
And it's a much more light toned game despite everything that's going on. It's like there's a lot of happy go lucky moments, and Sarah and Noel are just kind of really enjoying life. I don't know. It's crazy. Parts of it are good, but overall, I thought, while it was an interesting story, it was a horrible sequel. And that goes for most of the sequels that they make.
That Square puts out.
Yeah, it's like you can tell it's by different teams.
Oh,
like,
right. Yeah.
The original story was not intended to be a 3-part story. The original story was supposed to be like X, and then they're like, let's make some more.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that one was received well. Actually, let's keep going on that one.
Yeah.
And then just kind of, throw it in.
We can make a game cheaper if we use the same engine we used for the last game. Okay.
Yeah.
No, we don't have to make assets.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
just half-ass the story. Go, 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 go.
Sort of throw that out there.
So, Snow's role in that game is very short. One of the time-hopping adventures that you go on with Sarah and Noel, you end up in this area where Snow is fighting a giant flan.
What?
A flan is also a recurring monster from Final Fantasy, so it's not quite as weird as it sounds, although it's pretty weird. It's like a big blob monster. So basically, they're fighting.
It's a flan.
It's a flan. It's a sentient flan.
It's a giant sentient.
It's a giant sentient flan. Flans have been like blob monsters have been in Final Fantasy for a long time. I think in Final Fantasy 1 and 4, they weren't all called flan. They were like flan and jelly and pudding and things like that.
Oh, wow.
But now it's mostly they're just like flan. That's the one that's stuck for whatever reason. Anyway, we're off subject. So yeah, Snow is fighting this thing because this thing is eroding a crystalline pillar that is holding up Cocoon. So
Okay.
Cocoon's been saved, but if this thing destroys this pillar, it'll fall down and it'll still cause death of some of Snow's closest friends, as well as potentially anybody who's still trying to live in Cocoon as a refuge. Anyway, so he's hardcore against it doing this.
Right. Okay.
So he's fighting to stop it, and he briefly joins your team, because most of that game you don't have a full party. It's just Sarah and Noel, as we said, with one guest monster party member, where you're like kind of training up the monsters. It's one of those sorts of games.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, Snow briefly joins as a guest, and you help take out this flan. And then after that, like the paradox has been resolved, so he kind of fades out of this zone because he's no longer.
Oh, right.
His timeline that brought him there no longer applies.
Right. Yeah.
So he doesn't actually get to continue with you, and he and Sarah don't get to have a full reconciliation or anything like that. So it's kind of bittersweet.
Yeah. Right.
That's it for the role for the main storyline. That's all you see of him in the normal game. Then he has another part that he plays in the DLC where you can fight against him, and you can potentially get his crystal, which lets him be the, quote, monster that you have on the team.
Right.
And he can sort of be on your team in that way. So it's a little weird. Like, the DLC guys are where there's actually challenging battles. You know, I said the game is mostly too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the DLC, they have harder challenging battles in that game where you have these arena fights that are totally optional.
Oh, okay.
So Snow is one of them. It's a little weird that he fights Sarah.
Right, yeah.
He even reacts to it, so it's cool that they call it out.
Yeah, I
He's
thought
like,
they threw that in there.
He's like, are we really gonna do this? And Noel's like, oh, what are you, scared or something like that? And he's like, she's my fiance, dude. So he's like, yeah, it's weird.
It's like, yeah, I'm scared to ruin my relationship.
Yeah. But she's like, no, I really want to show you how strong I've gotten. So they have a fight.
Wow.
And then they ask him again at the end of that, oh, so can you go with us now? And he's like, he shows them that there's like chaos enveloping him. So this dark mist is kind of all around him. And they're like, what is that? He's like, oh, don't worry. It doesn't hurt, but I can't leave because of it. It's got some sort of hold on me. And so that's it. That's it for Snow. He's stuck in this Coliseum. So Sarah doesn't see him again at the end of that point. And then it's 500 years in the future, and it skips to Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13-3.
Right.
At which point, he was not able to save Sarah. Oh, cool, you got the mode. Can you do the triangle attack and hold it down to see if you can get like a big crazy attack? Yeah. Yeah, it's still going.
Oh my god. He's still falling.
It beat the hell out of
Yeah,
Camel Nuts.
that was insane. Camel Nuts went flying. Holy crap. Man, he looks fantastic in that. He looks cool. Like the.
It looks like it would hurt a lot.
Oh yeah, it looks terrible. It looks looks like it would be terrible, but he looks cool in that, like in that headspace or in that actual physical space.
Oh, you stepped into Camelot's trap.
Oh, you've activated my trap card.
I don't know. Trap card doesn't seem as bad as Camelot's trap. Camelot's trap sounds like something you don't want to touch.
Oh no!
Step in,
avoid
touch
the
with your
Camelot's
pinky.
trap at all times.
Yeah. Oh, you almost have enough to do your EX skill again.
Oh,
Don't touch this icy goodness. Oh, it's your icy goodness. Never
yeah.
mind.
This is.
All right, you got enough. Hold down the triangle and blast somebody in the face.
Oh, wow!
Swing and a miss.
Oh, that sucks. Oh, what? Who did this to me? I don't see a Shiva. I don't know. Oh wow.
Well, Camelot's punched you in the face and somebody else won.
I got hit so hard that we won. The game felt sorry for me.
Cecil takes out Golbez. Yeah, it even
Wow.
evolved further here. You see it on his head?
Yeah, you can see it on his head, and he has like this barbed kind of like.
And his
thing
leg
going
has
around.
barbs too.
Oh
His
right,
left
yeah.
leg. This is the furthest extent that it goes in this
Okay.
game. It's like starting to encroach on the right side of his body a little bit.
Yeah, it looks really badass. I'm a fan of them putting that in there for sure.
Oh yeah, one thing I didn't mention in Final Fantasy 13-2. We should go back in real fast. After Sarah and Noel and Snow fight off this flan, and while Snow is fading, Sarah realizes that Snow has a new Lassie brand. So even after the end of Final Fantasy 13, where they all successfully removed their brands,
Oh, interesting.
and they removed their ticking timer,
right,
their impending doom clock here.
right.
In 13-2, he has one again.
Interesting.
And she doesn't really understand why, because he fades out and they don't really get a chance to talk too much.
Right.
But you learn that Snow specifically sought out a fal'Cie and requested to be branded because he didn't have the strength and the power to save people enough as a normal
Wow.
human. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So that's pretty badass.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
It's also still reckless and stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's badass, and it shows that devotion, but man.
Yeah, that's insane. So he's basically like, he's sold his soul to the devil, basically, in a way. Of like, okay, grant me power, and I'll just do your bidding afterwards. Like,
Yeah.
that's fine. Wow.
Well, not all fal'Cie are evil.
Okay.
So, yeah, in Final Fantasy 13-3, or Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13, which is a weird name for a game.
Yeah.
Sounded like Lightning hated Final Fantasy 13, so she returned it to the game store.
Yeah, Lightning Returns, fun thing. Yeah, makes sense.
So, yeah, in Final Fantasy 13-3, as we've seen, Snow is now the patron, that's his official title, of this city called Yusnan, where they basically have non-stop festivals and parties every night, because they understand that the end of the world is coming, there's nothing that can be done.
Oh, okay. So they're just like, okay, if we're gonna die, might as well live it up.
Right.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. I guess that's one way to look at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, different people, there's 4 main parts of the world that still survive, and different people
Oh, right. Okay.
kind of react to it in different ways. So some people are living normal lives, but these people are like, no,
Right.
we're going.
If we're gonna do it, we're gonna go all out, kind of thing.
So in Final Fantasy 13-3, his brand has not turned him into full Seath mode, which is a little bit weird, because I guess part of the time stopping on human aging has also caused the time to stop on his brand, because it doesn't really fully make sense that it couldn't have lasted for centuries, for 500 years, without the time running out.
Right.
I mean, maybe he had a great relationship with the fal'Cie Cactuar, and like he had this super long time given to him. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And it's not until he absorbs too much chaos or causes too much stress to his body that he fully loses control. Maybe that's what's going on here. Or either that, or it froze in the time along with the aging of humans.
Maybe,
one of
yeah.
these two things happened.
Right.
So because he still hasn't turned into a Seath.
Right.
And he doesn't have this arm growth or anything like that.
Right.
So in the opening cutscene of Final Fantasy 13, he looks just like he looks in this game with the black
Yeah. Just
black coat and the black pants and no arm thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So Lightning comes into a conflict with him because Lightning is the savior. She's been brought back in order to try and save people instead of having the final days of all of humanity.
Right.
And it's a little weird because she's brought back by Bunavelza, who ends up being someone who fights her later, like we were saying before. He's a main antagonist, like fighting against God itself. It's a little bit weird that he doesn't just blink her out of existence. In the Japanese version, it makes more sense because Bunavelza merges with Hope at a certain point in the story. And in the Japanese version, Hope was like, he was kind of had this huge crush on Lightning. Once he merges with Bunavelza like now has these feelings of love, and in both versions he's experiencing emotion for the first time because he's merged with a human. Right. But in the Japanese version, now he has weird mixed romantic feelings, so maybe that means that he can fight her and not just blink her out of existence, or not just outright incinerate her and kill her, because he just has these like conflicting feelings that he has no idea what to do with. Right.
He wants to defeat her, but he doesn't want to destroy her completely. Right.
Yeah, so maybe that explains why you can fight him in the Japanese version. In the English version, it doesn't really work as well. Like, why doesn't he just like, boop, you're gone? Right, yeah. He has that kind of power. It's not like a...
Just snap a finger and you don't exist anymore.
Right. Yeah. Like, he can create, he can destroy. Right. He gave you your powers. He could just take all of her powers away. Like, he can... he manipulates her thoughts and takes part of her memories in and out. Like, he can do what he wants. He can't... I think he can't read the feelings or emotions or hearts of humans, something like that. But, you know, that's a very small limitation.
Yeah,
he has,
for sure.
He definitely has full-on godlike powers.
Right.
Yeah, he is a god entity. He's not just like some super powerful being that is calling itself a god. So, anyway, that's another point of weirdness. Again, the storytelling in the sequels is... But, so Snow is protecting this city. He comes into conflict with Lightning at the beginning, and eventually she comes back to the city and she has to kind of break in and sneak in because the guards there don't really want her there. You find out that he fought her initially because he was just testing her to make sure that she was the real Lightning.
Oh, okay.
Really, maybe it was because the initial cutscene was made earlier than the later part of the story, and initially he was going to have more of an antagonistic role. Okay. Because the lines that he uses at the beginning are like, oh, you're the savior? Well, I'm going to do whatever it takes, even if I have to kill you. Like, so he's got his agenda, but it's not clear, you know, that he's not definitively a villain at that point. But later, when you come back in the actual game, like, that's the initial cutscene. When you come back in the actual game, it's like, oh yes, I was definitely protecting people. I was just testing you. But, you know, like, they eliminate pretty much any sense of that. And in the beginning, like, he fends off Lightning, they both kill all these monsters, but then Snow walks off into the chaos, like showing he has powers, can manipulate it, and has some sort of affinity with it, that sort of thing.
Right.
So there was potential there for there to be more. Whether or not that was something they changed or something that they always wanted to pull a surprise with, and they always wanted him to stay true to hero form.
Right.
Only the developers know for sure. So he fights Lightning when she comes back, and he explains to her, oh, I've been protecting these people, and oh, there's this giant vat of chaos here. And she passes his test of knowing how to actually get through the makeshift barrier that he made by using this pendant of Sarah's, and only the real Lightning would know to do that.
Right.
So then he shows her, okay, here's this giant chaos thing, I'm going to absorb it. She's like, no, don't do that. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to do it and turn into a Seath, you have to kill me. And she tries to stop him and dissuade him, but no, he does it. And then that's where he grows the arm thing. And he still talks mostly human through that. And then afterwards, he grows into like he does in this game.
Right.
He knocks his shirt off and he grows into a more deformed Seath form.
Okay.
And then at the end of that fight, he still didn't turn into a full Seath where his full body is. It's like that, but he's no longer in control of himself.
Okay, right.
Yeah, he's no longer he no longer is speaking to her. He's like, like it's basically zombie kind of language,
right?
And he's attacking her and swinging at her and things like this.
Right. Okay.
So, and here's where we get hokey again with the storyline. Lightning, you know, she's like, oh, she's so sad, and
Evil has
I
a price.
wish I could have saved you,
Right.
but I couldn't. I wish I knew what to say. Sarah would have known what to say, but I just don't. And she's like hugging him and hitting his chest and like trying to
Get
snap him
back.
out of it.
Right,
yeah,
right.
And he's just zombie-esque and punches her to the floor, stuff
Right.
like that. But eventually, it's not fully explained, but Lightning kind of, gives him the hug of love, and he's like, do it for Sarah, you have to fight it,
Right.
and he turns back into human. Which, it just really cheesy, super kind of bad plot armor, heroes always live, goofy writing.
Right, if you believe hard enough in what you want, you'll always win, or
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Yeah, and it really, the other problem is, it also does a disservice to everything that happened in the first Final Fantasy 13, where you learn about other people who were turned into Seath, and you find out about some of these tragic stories about people who were married and had to try and go out and kill their own spouse and things
wow.
like this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but Snow can't be the first person who just loved that much
Right,
and
right.
was able to turn back. Yay! You just have to believe enough, or you just have to love enough, and it just if they had said, okay, Lightning has been brought back from Brunevelza, he has invested her with these extra powers to be able to make Seath and unmake Seath.
Right,
Be able to make Lassie of her own, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. If they had just said that, okay.
Right, right.
Then
Makes
they
sense.
then it makes perfect sense.
Right,
But then
yeah.
that also would have completely downplayed the drama from that scene.
I guess so,
She just
yeah.
would have been like, Snow, you idiot! Vwomp!
Yeah. And it's like, okay, game over, or something like that.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been this high-intensity emotional scene.
It gave her, her tier special abilities or something like that. Just explained. It's like, it's like, maybe because he doesn't have the emotion, when she conveys that emotion, that's when she has the power or something like that. Something along those lines.
Right.
Yeah, just, I'm spitballing, but it would be better than no explanation.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there were plot-feasible ways they could have made it happen.
Yeah.
Because she was at a point where she had these additional powers. It's
Right.
kind of hokey. It definitely seems like sequels that were made by a different team and not really... the game was definitely not originally planned to be
This long, or
Right.
have a trilogy like this, yeah.
Yeah, or even if they wanted to have a trilogy and use the assets, the story of the first one, or the story it didn't clearly lead into 2 and 3. This time travel ass pull, there was definitely no foreshadowing of that in the first game. So,
Right.
Clearly, whether they wanted a trilogy or not, the writers who made the first one were not told about or didn't have this grand design for the plot.
Right, yeah.
There was nothing to connect them. Anyway, so yeah, Lightning gives the magical hug of love,
Yeah.
and Snow turns back into a human and is very friendly again and on good terms with Lightning after that point. And yeah, he doesn't have this giant great Seath arm or Seath transformation. He's just been saved, even though it completely demeans
Everything that happened prior to that.
yeah, in Final Fantasy 13-1, all of the pain and all of the struggle and how it's hopeless.
Yeah,
if
once
there's-
you get marked, that's it.
Right.
There's nothing you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes away, it spits in the face of all of that.
Right,
I
right.
mean, if it's not hopeless because you can do the magic hug and get back to normal, if you just have, enough love, then that should have been their plan in the first game.
Right,
He
yeah.
still loved Sarah in the first game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty weak. Sorry if that's your favorite part of the game. Let's say your favorite part of any game of all time, and you think that's the best written segment of anything that you've ever seen in your life. You're entitled to your opinion. It's cool that they had a fight between Lightning and Snow. I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
cool that they made him a boss fight. I don't think that the story was written well enough to cover it well.
Yeah, yeah.
And he wasn't villainous in the end. And he wasn't villainous enough to be the villain rep for 13 in this game. So that's why it's controversial. That's why a lot of people don't like it. That's why I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see the, if at the end of the game he wasn't able to be turned back, and they put his deformed version into this game as the villain. That would be cool. To see.
Yeah, but then it's still another tough fit because his deformed version wouldn't have lines.
Yeah, that's
It just
true.
kind of growls.
That's true.
So they have to add something with personality. I would have much rather seen Sid Reigns or Caius. Some people are against those. Supposedly, Caius is hated in Japan. I'm not sure exactly how or why that might be. It would be slightly awkward to have Caius in this game in English, but for a totally different reason. It's just because he has the same voice actor as Kane. Oh, okay. And they use the exact same voice. Like, he didn't do a different voice for each character. Okay. It's that guy's voice. So yeah, it would be a little weird, especially if they had a scene together.
I guess, yeah, that's true.
But I mean, as far as the choice being what they did in Japan, I've heard they don't like Caius. They've used Sid Reigns as a villain in other games like Record Keeper. Sid Reigns is the villain rep for 13. So it's not like they can't do it.
Right.
It's just maybe they were going for the Japanese fan base that likes Snow as a hero, and they thought, oh, this is a clever way to get him in there.
Right.
I just think, okay, it's not so much clever as it's like a big excuse. Like, you're just trying to make any excuse possible to use this character.
Right, yeah,
it doesn't really fit well. He had this form for 10 minutes. He's been alive for 5 centuries.
Right, yeah.
Doesn't work.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because I guess he is so loved in like the Japanese market. Maybe that's what they were going for strictly. Maybe. So, okay, well, he technically was kind of a villain, so screw it. We'll just throw him in there. People will love it. But yeah, at the same time, at least like have a little bit more behind the story to justify it instead of just saying, okay, well, he kind of was a bad guy at some point, so that's all the prerequisite you need, like, in this game. So yeah, it definitely cheapens it a lot to have like kind of villains and also like really badass villains at the same tier.
Yeah. Like somebody who was trying to protect people and took on an evil form because of it.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Definitely not in the same boat as the Emperor.
Right, yeah, exactly. For sure.
To be fair, we do have other not clear-cut villain roles, like Jecht.
Oh, right, yeah.
Who was never a full-on villain. Like Kuja, who was a main antagonist throughout most of his game, but who has definitely changed sides in this game and can listen to reason.
Right.
Like Golbez, who plays both sides.
Yeah.
So, but this is really an asshole.
Yeah, there's a difference between blurred lines and I think kind of getting story plots out of your butt.
Yeah. Like, this is still, he was like this for 10 minutes and he was never trying to harm people.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so Snow fits closer to the Jecht side.
Right.
It's not completely unprecedented, but it's still, I definitely am not a fan of this choice for villain.
Yeah, I could definitely see why there's some blowback there for sure.
Bring him in as the other 13 hero rep, no problem.
Exactly,
Get rid of this arm weird thing. He's got other weapons, his fists.
Yeah, bring him in from one. Yeah, the ice axe thing would be amazing.
At least he's a cool character. He's fun to play.
Yeah, he's definitely fun. I like the transformation concept and his EX ability, like transforming along with it. I think that's a really cool, like, kind of new way to play him, because you can actually do like a significant amount of damage if you're in that kind of last ditch stage.
The more hurt you are.
Right, yeah. So definitely adjust your gameplay depending on how hurt you are, and like if it's the difference between like both you and the enemy team need one more incapacitation, like that could be a make or break right there. So I mean, I've already done a couple times where it's helped me out in a pinch, so that's been fun.
Yeah, so it's cool. It brings a new dynamic to the combat. If you guys want to try him out, he's definitely a fun character to play as. Overall, definitely would have preferred a different villain ref, even if they did decide to bring Snow in as
just the hero,
as another 13 character.
Right,
yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's here. You can't really argue about it. At this point, they're not going to delete him from the game, so you can try him out, have some fun playing him.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. Like, the gameplay is different, just like pretty much most other characters in this. It's worth playing, I guess. And yeah, it's definitely worth playing them for sure.
Some fans are happy, some fans are not happy. Some fans of Snow in general are still not happy because they don't like this form of Snow. So they definitely went right back to the controversial pick with this guy. So we'll see if the next DLC character is going to be as controversial, if they're going to try and go back to another fan favorite, because they've got lots of safe bets to choose from also.
Right.
Either way, we will meet you guys back when the next DLC character is released.
Indeed. Yeah, we will see you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed Snow's Life. And yeah, we'll see you guys when there's another DLC character.
Have a wonderful day. See you next time.
Yep, see you next time.